Hi, I'm Ashley Cheeks, and I'm here on the Pitch Investors Live platform to teach you a few things about how you, as an entrepreneur, can improve your pitch. Today's topic is about the number one way that you can disrespect an investor and the right way to correct that. Without meaning to, entrepreneurs can go in front of investors, their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and blow it completely simply because of this one fatal mistake. This applies whether you are pitching on Pitch Investors Live's platform, or if you're pitching to an investor who is a friend or family member, or if you're pitching at some kind of networking event. No matter which platform you're talking about, this is going to be a problem for you if you don't get this one thing right before you go in front of an investor. Now, I also want to make sure that you know a little bit about me. I am a business plan consultant and a pitch consultant, and the reason why I'm working with Pitch in particular is because I love the way their platform gives everybody an opportunity to actually have a chance at the money they need to make their business grow. The reason why they are so unique is because they actually empower entrepreneurs with great ideas. So if that's you, if you have some kind of a business idea or you have an existing business that needs a little bit of help growing with an investor partner, then this is definitely the place for you. And you should look into getting your pitch on the platform so that you can maximize your odds for funding. Every single pitch that goes live will have some training behind it, so you can work directly with somebody like me who can train you on how to give a great pitch before you go live. So don't ever let fear be the reason why you don't get your idea out in the open. And if you are one of those entrepreneurs with a great idea, I want you to say something in the comments below that introduces yourself. I'm going to go check back later and give you some love and make sure that I understand who everybody is personally. So please go and introduce yourself whenever you get a second in the comments. So let's get into the material. So you've probably by now seen a few pitches yourself, whether it is on something like Shark Tank or it's on Pitch Investors Live. You've probably seen somebody go under the gun and actually present their idea in hopes of getting funding. In those pitches, there are a lot of common themes that you probably pick out as being wrong, or you might be able to recognize when somebody takes a southward turn and you can tell the pitch is going downhill fast. While you may not know why that's happening, you still intuitively see those moments where things are not going great. One of those moments, tell me if you've heard of this before, is when the investor says, you know what, that's a great idea. I will be a customer in a heartbeat, but I'm not investing. That phrase is like a knife wound to the chest for an entrepreneur. They're not coming on here to pitch you to be another customer. They're coming here to get your partnership. Now, one key area where they went wrong, and the topic for today's discussion in this training, is how to make sure your investor sees you as a partner and doesn't feel treated as a customer. When you treat your investor as a possible partner, your pitch reflects that differently. If you have been selling your product for a long time, you might very naturally be in salesperson mode, where you are simply amped about your solution, about what you created, how you created it, and that's fantastic. You need that energy no matter what you're doing or what you're selling, but you have to know how to morph that energy towards the topic of pitching your business instead of pitching your product or service. One of the greatest problems we have as entrepreneurs is we spend time and energy and effort into creating the perfect product or service for people. And naturally, all that blood, sweat, and tears tends to come out whenever we're talking about our business at any level. You have to know what it looks like to shift away from getting customers and move it into I need an investor mode. Now, I wonder if anybody watching this, and please comment if this is you, has a product or service or solution that you feel just sells itself. I mean, you don't even really need to go out there and make this formalized pitch because the product or service is kind of its own sales point. If you were to just put it on the floor and put a sign next to it saying what it was, people would be like, oh, I need that. I desperately want to buy that right now. If that is you, that is a really valuable thing. And that's even more reason why you don't need to go too hard in selling your idea to investors. You do, however, need to sell your business to investors. I want to tell you really quickly about a client that I worked with last week. He created a new type of flood barrier system that will literally save lives in the event of natural disasters or flooding or other scenarios where there's going to need to be a barrier to keep people safe. Totally amazing proprietary product. It literally sells itself. And he is working through his pitch right now in a way that is totally different and unique from what he's been doing for the last 10 years. And when I looked at his materials and I worked with him on the information, it was crystal clear that his business plan, his investor presentation, everything from beginning to end was selling this product about why it was a great solution. And there is a place for that in your pitch. It simply is not the focal point of your entire speech that you're giving to this investor. What you have to make sure you're doing is balancing the product or service with what the actual benefit of the business is to the investor. And one of the reasons why people tend to be afraid, and tell me if this is you, of telling their ideas is they're afraid their ideas are going to be stolen. I've seen time and time again that people tend to focus on the product or service they're selling at a very salesman level instead of delving into the proprietary details of their business simply out of fear that their idea is going to be ripped off and taken and run with by somebody else. There's a lot of schools of thought on this. Some people go to one extreme and say you should never tell anybody anything about your business ever because they're going to steal it from you and you won't be able to do anything about it. Some people in the middle say, tell people about it, create an NDA, and make them sign that document, and that will protect you. Some people say an NDA isn't going to protect you, and in fact, you should forget about trying to protect it at all. Just shout it from the rooftops and hope for the best. There is a little bit of a middle ground that encompasses all of these things. Number one, if you're genuinely scared that somebody is going to steal your idea and that's holding you back from giving your best pitch, then you need to make sure that you're honest with yourself about how stealable your idea is. If it's super, super easy, simple, and crazy, just elementary in nature, you might get it patented or protect it in some way legally, because if that's the case, you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself. If your business has elements to it that are so complex, however, that nobody could possibly duplicate it unless they worked for you directly and saw the inner workings of everything, then you're probably worrying a little bit too much and you're letting that worry hold your business back from growing. There is a really, really positive effect that comes out of just sharing your idea with others. And yes, some people will see it and go, oh, I could do that. But only you know for sure if somebody else is capable of executing things to the point that you're executing them to. Your passion, your background, your drive, and your knowledge is unique to you. One way that you can make sure that your idea never gets breached by somebody else is by being the first one to take action on it. Simply being first to move on the concept that you're trying to bring to market gives you a huge advantage. Most people are not going to come to the game quickly enough to be able to steal your idea and compete with you unless you're not taking action. And the easiest way to not take action is to talk yourself out of making the next step, whether that is finding an investor or pitching yourself to somebody specific. Okay, let's talk about how to actually maximize your pitch and make sure that you're viewing your investor as an investor and not as a customer. What I want you to do is sit down and actually make a T-chart. On this T-chart, I want you to list out 10 features, benefits, perks, positive aspects of your product or service. This can be the customer service that you're delivering, the solution your product or service provides. It could be the accessibility and the ease in which your customers can use your product. It could be the way that your customers are allowed to interact with that product in a way that changes their life. It could be price point. Anything that is a positive that you would be inclined to pitch to an investor that is specifically about your product or service, write that down. Once you have that list, go to the other side of your chart. You want to list out 2 to 3 back-end things about your business that makes that other thing possible. What I mean by that, if you have excellent customer service, and this is a fulcrum of the entire heart of the reason why your business is going to be better than anybody else out there, then you don't talk about just the customer service. You start with customer service and say, hey, we've got 24/7 support. Nobody else offers a level of help that we give our customers. And then talk about how you made that possible, the business side of that feature. So do you have a remote call center that's handling the volumes of calls that you're getting in that are specifically trained to handle your customers? Do you have a proprietary training program that you are putting all of your call service people through so that they give the best, most consistent levels of quality service possible? Do you have a hierarchy management system overseeing these people internally? Talk about that. Talk about the logistics of how and why your product or service is the best. Let's say that your product solves a really, really important problem. Taking my flood client as an example, not only was his flood barrier amazing, but it wasn't new. It was something that merged 2 existing technologies, and he was afraid to mention that because that was copyable. Somebody else could take those 2 technologies and share it with the world. Here's where it was really interesting. These 2 things that were proprietary independently, and he brought them together. He patented the use of them together. Before that happened, he wasn't comfortable sharing his idea with anyone. So it wasn't until he protected himself legally, again, 10 years in the making, finally he got a patent on it, that he was able to start pitching his idea. So when you're talking about the fact that you have an interlocking barrier system that is going to literally save millions of lives in the event of a natural disaster, you can say the reason this works is because these 2 things work together and they interlock through this mechanism we developed in our manufacturing facility. And the manufacturing facility has these molds and uses these molds to create these at a volume that keeps our costs down. And on top of it, we're manufacturing in country. So we're saving on a lot of shipment costs that would otherwise be incurred. You need to make sure that you're talking about the back end of every single aspect of your business so that there is no chance that that investor is going to feel more like a customer than like an investor. Now, you have to remember that it is the easiest thing to do to slip back into pitching to a customer midway through the pitch. This is where it gets really disrespectful to the investor. If they feel like they have to drag out business details from you and they feel like they have to beg you to give them a cost or a price or a margin, and you are simply not interested in talking about those things, you're more interested in talking about the features of your product, that is going to come off as highly disrespectful to the investor because you're not honoring the fact that they've taken time out of their day to come talk to you about your business, not about your product or your service, or even how you came up with the idea to begin with. They want to talk about why your business is investable. They want to know why you have a unique offering that they want to jump on right now and become a partner with you in making it grow. If you don't respect your investor's position and time and purpose in talking with you, then you're going to alienate him or her pretty quickly. And pretty soon you'll find that they want to become a customer and not an investor, which is not the goal of any of this at all. So make sure that you are taking your T-chart and you're using that as your balancing act so that you know how much to talk about your product and service versus how much to talk about the business end of things. And if you feel a little bit uncomfortable, make sure you reach out for help. That's why people like myself and other professionals are here to help you figure out what it means to create a great pitch. After all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you want to make sure you maximize it. On the other hand, if you're not even reaching out to put your idea into the world in a way that's going to expose it to growth and success, then your job is to make sure that you're giving your baby, your business, the best chance at growth possible by getting it in front of things like Pitch Investors Live and other platforms so that it can actually have an opportunity to succeed. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this valuable. Please leave your information in the comments so I can say hello to each of you. Have a wonderful day. Take care and stay positive, entrepreneurs.